Hello and welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. I'm your host, Christine Innes. I am delighted to have this very beautiful soul, Cassandra, joining me today. Welcome, beautiful.
Hello, thanks so much for the invitation.
My pleasure. As I said to you just before, I'd been doing like this sort of Facebook, social media stalking. I'm like, oh my goodness, this woman is a powerhouse. Like, honestly, like you have it down pat, and I love your messaging. So I can't wait to get started and to ask you all these amazing questions.
Thanks so much. This has definitely been a labor of love.
Love it. So before we go in any further, and I get so carried away with all of these questions with it, do you want to just take some time and introduce yourself to the beautiful audience and share what you do?
Sure, I am a Christian holistic wellness influencer who at one time was a gerontologist, and now combining those two passions, I really transform the physical, emotional, and spiritual health of women. I know for many of us boss women, we neglect ourselves while we're pursuing professional endeavors. And so I'm making radical self-care the new normal for us women.
I love that. And I needed you 8 years ago.
8 years ago, I wasn't doing this.
Yes. It's interesting, isn't
I needed this version of me 8 years ago.
Like it is, I think, really, really true that as women, and I always say that we are like the mama bears, regardless of whether or not you got children or not. It is that natural intuition that we just want to come in and scoop everyone up and look after them, but we always neglect ourselves.
Yes, that is so true. And unfortunately, that was my lived experience. As I mentioned at one time, I had a career as a gerontologist, and that was a career I had for about a decade working in corporate America. And, for most women, especially for minority women, we're taught that you have to work so much harder to get those promotions and raises and all this stuff. And so I did that and got the quote unquote success, but in the process I was neglecting my health. And after doing that for 10 years pretty much, my body shut down, completely shut down, because I wouldn't give it a rest. And that was the start to this wellness journey that I've been loving ever since. But for many of us, we think that success is just a given for men, whether it's in corporate or even in business. Because I notice even entrepreneurs where you think, and this is your own company, and you think, oh, I have to do, all this extra stuff, and it's so much easier for men. And yes, there are some disparities when you think about our pay, all this stuff. But what I do know, what is for you, it is for you, and you do not have to work yourself to death.
Yeah, I 100% get it. I've lived it. I've been through it. So I can resonate so much with it. And I think it's this is why I love doing this show, because we actually get to hear from people that have lived it and have actually come out from the other side. So we can help, just to let people know that it's okay to take time out for yourself. It's not selfish at all. It's the best. Like, you need it. It's like drinking water every day. You need it.
Yes, it is mandatory. Self-care, a lot of times, especially as us women, we think self-care is going to the spa, getting our nails done, that sort of thing. And those activities, they're fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not telling you to stop doing it, but self-care is the things you do on a daily basis or at least a weekly basis to pour into your body. It's the things you do to rejuvenate yourself, whether it's yoga, for me, I love me some aromatherapy. So whether it's having that diffuser in your office and with the right essential oils that's helping balance your mood, it's those sort of activities that uplift you. And we gotta do that. It needs to become our new normal.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that the key thing is that you've got to find what's right for you, because we're all such unique individuals that what's going
Yes.
to fill me up is going to be different to somebody else. So
Yes.
explore, find out what works for you, but then it's that consistency, because
Mhm.
we only realize when we're on empty, when we're on absolute empty.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's just like a firefighter. If you have a little small flame, that could come in and put that out in a few minutes. But if you have a full blown inferno, it's gonna take a little while to put out. And our bodies are no different.
Mm.
So it's really expedient to know your body,
Mm.
because when you really, really know your body, you'll notice the little small changes, just the little small changes in your body, and you can realize that, oh, okay, I need to address this.
Absolutely. And what was there a particular moment when you realized within yourself that you needed to put this as a really high priority in your life?
Yes, I can recall when initially when I was first diagnosed with systemic lupus, I started traditional treatment. My doctors wanted me to undergo chemo drugs and steroids and just a lot of other stuff. And so I had did that for several months and I wasn't getting any better. My health was actually declining. And I can recall one day I woke up and I thought within my mind, I'm tired of being sick. And that at that moment, I knew something had to change, that the way I was living, I couldn't keep living like that. I wasn't living, I was just existing.
Mm.
And believe it or not, the power of our mind is just so unbelievable. Our mind creates our life.
Mm.
And when I had that thought, literally a couple days later, next thing I know, I'm on LinkedIn and I get this message from a nutritionist who was looking for a gerontologist for a project. And she reached out to me, really wanted me on the project. And I'm like, sure, I would love to do it. But, I have these problems going on with my health. I need extra time. And she suggested a few different foods for me to try to help with the pain. And I tried it, noticed some improvement. And I said, you know what? If I'm getting improvement with this little small change, let me see what else I could do.
Mm.
And that sent me back to college. Was just taking courses in health and wellness, alternative health, medicine. And the things I was learning, I applied to myself. The more I learned, I started feeling better. And before you knew it, I went back to the doctor thinking I was going to get another round of treatment. They ran the labs and everything was normal.
Yeah.
I was in remission to my surprise. So our mindset, for me, it was the mind,
Mm.
because I knew that where I was wasn't where I wanted to be. And so changing my thought really created this life that I'm living in now.
Yeah, I'm such a big believer in that as well. I think that, you know, you can choose how you're going to see the world. You can choose how you're going to see your life as well. And by those choices, that actually is going to have such a huge positive impact in the decisions that you make, the people that you hang around with, even like the food and all of that we eat as well. Like I
Yeah,
remember, even just only a few years ago, like anything bad would happen, I would just eat chocolate. Like, that would just be my go-to thing. Like, here we go. I'm having chocolate today because I've had a crappy day. But then I realized that, that's okay. I had to actually process everything. I had to, deal with, what's happening
yeah,
and not use it as part of the comfort. But
yeah,
it's the mindset. It's that mindset of actually going, okay, well, what am I going to learn from this today? What has this, instead of bad thing that's happened, what's the opportunity that's actually going to bring to me?
yeah,
So those tiny little mindsets really change everything in everyone's life.
yeah, yeah. It does. It makes a huge difference. And from my clinical studies as a gerontologist and learning about the brain, which, of course, in that setting, I learned more about the brain as we age and the cells and everything. But even when we think about people who aren't seniors, our brain, the cells in our brain, for the average adult, give or take, anywhere between 30 to 45 days, those cells are changing.
Mm,
New cells are being developed, between 30, 45 days. And those new cells that are developed, how they come into the brain depends a lot on your thoughts,
mm,
because those new cells can and come in they do not have to stay the same. It's the information that you take in and process, whether it's through the books you're reading,
mm.
social media, just all the information you're consuming, along with food,
Yeah.
what you consume. Well, I'm not just going to say food, but, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're putting in your body,
Mm.
that becomes you, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. How has this change made you when obviously starting a business as well? Has it made you more aware of that, so-called work-life balance? Because I don't believe that there's actually a proper balance in there, but it's doing what is right for you. Have you been more conscious of that in yourself?
For me, it has caused, this is my life. It's not just a business.
Mm,
I live a holistic life. Now, is it a continual journey? For sure. I'm always learning, making tweaks, making adjustments,
mm,
but it is a lifestyle change for me. When I think back to when I worked in corporate and the way I lived my life, and I look at present day, it's night and day difference.
yeah.
And not only in what I consume as far as my diet, but even what I take in mentally and emotionally. I've always been an avid reader, even as a child, but even with the things I read, I'm more conscious of
Mm,
fueling my mind,
mm,
and even with the relationships that I have, I pay very close attention to people's energy, really more guarded now, because for a lot of us women, we're just natural nurturers and caregivers, and we allow ourselves to be abused.
mm. Yeah,
And, a
absolutely.
lot of times we think of abuse as, something physical, but oftentimes it's psychological, is,
Mm,
how people treat us, not valuing us as a person, making us feel less than, using us, those sort of things. And so now I have boundaries, and if people don't respect my boundaries, they're not in my circle.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think it's I think as we go through life and we start to learn from the lessons, that we can really
Mhm,
start to assess and put in those boundaries because
mhm,
we've learnt. We got, oh, that worked. No,
mhm.
that didn't work. Or, and continually
Yeah,
evolve. And I think that's like, as I was reading more and more of your story, it's like, well, we just continually evolve. We continually
yeah,
learn more
yeah,
and adapt
yeah.
to it.
Mhm.
And change is a beautiful thing. I think a lot of people are scared of change, but it's such a beautiful thing.
It can be the most beautiful thing. Oh my goodness. And when we think about plants or just anything outside of humans,
Mm,
they're always growing. And when they stop growing is when they die.
mm,
I think oftentimes we don't think of ourselves in that same manner because when we stop growing, we still may be here on this earth, but inside,
mm,
we're dying
yeah,
inside. So, growth is a great thing. Changing it is part of the growth process, you know? And so, when you grow, one thing about it, I noticed for myself, my growing isn't necessarily for me. It's for the woman who I'm called to empower her in healing, you know, because now she has an example of someone who's been through
mm,
some difficult challenges in
mm,
life and has overcome. So it gives her hope, you know. And so you don't know who life you can impact when you simply open yourself up to the possibilities.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel that the last couple of years, I know that COVID has been, a very difficult time in people, but I've
Mhm.
also seen it as such a beautiful blessing that so many people are actually starting to reconnect to really who they are more
Yeah.
so because we've been actually, I guess, in a way, forced it to actually
Yeah.
look at where we are in life, where we want to go, and make those
Yeah.
assessments.
Yeah. That is so true. I noticed for me, initially when 2020 hit, I had this big tour planned with my first book. Actually, he restored my soul, triumph through adversity. Had planned on doing this book tour. I already got places lined
Yeah.
up, got so many books already ordered, and they're just waiting. And then when the world shut down, I'm like, well, I guess I won't be going to those places. But the extra time gave me even more clarity,
Mm,
because I thought that, that was something that I needed to do, but God had a different assignment for me. So, yeah, when you have more time to sit with yourself, your vision gets so much clearer,
yeah.
so much clearer. Because, like I said, you don't have the distractions.
Mm, absolutely. I know, like we literally launched our magazine in 2020, and it was right before COVID, or it already started to hit the world, but it like when it came to Australia, and we're like, oh, do I not? And I'm like, no, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just see where it goes. But it's one of those moments in life where you have to constantly then reassess where you're at, where you're going, what do you want to do? And do you find that you do that yourself, like in life and also in business?
Oh my goodness, yes. Um, when I tell you this year, in which I know 2022, we're just getting warmed up in it, but I've done so much reflection, so much reflection. I celebrated my 4th year in business in February. And prior to having my business anniversary, I just reflected on where I am in life, in business, especially thinking about the impacts that I would like to make moving forward. I find myself doing it a whole lot more. I just feel that when you're blessed to overcome a challenge like I did, and God just heals your body from the inside out, you know that you need to serve as many women as possible. So this year, I've really hit the ground running. I've done some things that I really hadn't planned on doing, just getting out my comfort zone. But I have done a lot of reflection and just being even more bolder.
I love it. I love it. We've got a theme for our April issue of the Corporate Escapist magazine, and it's all around the word empower. What does that mean to you?
Empower for me is letting your voice be heard, because you have the power within you. No one has to give you permission. You have the power. It's just a matter of utilizing the power that's inside of you and knowing that you have it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Sometimes we just need a little bit of a, hey, nudge that, to do it. And this is what I love, that I get to share beautiful stories from people all around the world, and in hope that that actually gives them the nudge that they need to step into their power, for them to know that they're not alone, that we've all gone through things in life, but what is possible is the fact that you can change your destination.
Oh, yes. Yes. You don't have to keep driving in the same direction. You can always make a U-turn.
Absolutely, absolutely. And explore that road that's less traveled sometimes, because it's beautiful. So
Yeah. 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 I can recall when I first started my business, a lot of people didn't understand it. A woman like myself, I had a pretty decent career as a gerontologist, was fortunate to get several awards, like national awards, for the work I did as a gerontologist. And to step out and start your own business, and you got to think about it. I started this business after I've left corporate and had all these health problems. So I got medical bills waiting on me, and, all this stuff. And it's like, you're going to start a business. You're not going to make money right away. Um, and so that was a path that a lot of people didn't understand. And honestly, it wasn't something I totally understood either. I just knew that God had an assignment for me and wanted me to take this message out. And so sometimes you might not completely understand why you're doing what you're doing, but when you have that vision, when you have that clarity, for me, I have faith in God. When you have just knowing that you're following that plan
Mm,
from a higher power, keep walking in it.
yeah. It's such a beautiful way to look at life, opposed to, and I don't know if you feel the same way, that it was like the hustle and the bustle of, corporate and being in this meeting, or, phone calls, and, just the life itself. Whereas now it's more, okay, I'm in flow. I can, change how I want to serve, because you've got that control back as yourself as well.
Yes, it is such a beautiful thing, just having that flexibility, having that freedom.
Mm,
I can recall when I worked in corporate America, in which I went misdiagnosed um, as being anemic when I actually did have systemic lupus. So when I worked in corporate America, I was sick, but didn't know it was lupus. But you would have those days you don't feel good, but they don't care because they want to make money,
yeah.
and so you have to go to work. But that hustle and bustle is, I guess, some people enjoy it. It wasn't something for me.
Yeah.
What I do love about my business right now, as I talk to you, it's almost 11 o'clock at night in my part of the world. So if I wake up in the morning and decide I want to go back to sleep, guess what? I can't.
Yep. I hear
you
ya.
know, just just having that flexibility,
Yeah.
because so many women, we don't speak up for ourselves,
Mm,
and we do all this extra stuff, and we're so quick to say yes.
yeah.
It's to our best interest to give a slow yes and a quick no.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. I might have to use that. I love that. I love that, because yeah, we're very quick. Like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I'm always, I would always say yes. And there's still days where I can feel myself slipping back, and I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then all of a sudden you're like completely overwhelmed, and you're like, hang on a second. I can't do it all. So
Yeah, yeah.
oh, well, I am just so grateful. We've got a very beautiful part of your story, which is actually up on our website at the moment. So you can head over to thecorporateescapist.com and read more of Cassandra's story. And there's all the links of where you can reach out. And I'm going to pop all the links so that people can reach out to you below. And I'm just super grateful that you've been able to share your story with us and inspire so many people. So thank you so much.
Well, I thank you for doing what you're doing and creating this platform for people in corporate America. I think it's really important for them to have a perspective on how to get a balanced life. It's really critical. And I appreciate you inviting me to your stage.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. And as I said to everyone here that's watching today, just make sure that you go ahead. If you've got any questions, you can go ahead and pop them below. If you've liked this video, hit that like and subscribe button, and you can reach out to Cassandra. All of her details are actually below. And thank you for you joining us today. Thank you to our beautiful audience. And to remember to live life to the fullest every single day. Love and light to you all.